All council members are present.
Thank you. There is nothing to report out on closed session. Any conflict of interest declarations? There is for 3 of us under the L&L item. Zone 1, Gus will have to recuse himself. Zone 2, I will have to recuse myself. Zone 3, Vice Mayor will have to recuse himself, and we do this because we live in those zones, so we can't vote on them.
Mayor, if you don't mind holding for one moment, we're having a glitch in Zoom. Nothing's happening. Is that happening up there to you, or is that a internet connection? Well, we don't have to continue with Zoom to keep compliant with the act, so let's continue. Just note that hopefully it'll catch up.
Thank you. All right, any changes or deletions to the agenda, David?
No changes, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to public comments. Any person wishing to speak on an item not listed on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. 3 minutes are typically allotted to each speaker. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to make a public comment? Please.
Hello, my name is Robert Redner, and I'm president of the Cloverdale Historical Society. Basically, we're the repository for all the hopes and dreams of Cloverdale for the last 100-some years. So what we basically like to do tonight is kind of give the city council and the city just an update of what we're up to so far and some of our upcoming events to let you know that we're still a functioning entity in your city. We have, in fact, this Friday, you're having the ATV opening here on Closing Arthur Street. We're going to open up the museum to the public, and we invite you all to come over, have a glass of wine, wander through the museum and get a look at it. I don't know when the last time any of you have been there, but it's been updated and we have a lot of new displays, and you're more than welcome to come. We also, in upcoming events, we have the Jefferson School. We're having the kids come through and view the Pomo Indian baskets, and that happens every Tuesday from 11 to noon. We also have an ongoing autobiographical, it's easy for me to say, writing class that goes on. We're also hosting the Green Thumb Garden Club Luncheon. That's coming up. And we are also preparing a 4th of July booth for the Citrus Fair. Okay. I'd also like to introduce the director of the museum, Alyssa Marash, who will follow up.
Hi, thank you. I'll try to stay within the 3 minutes. It's nice to see everybody. Just a bit on the 4th grade classes from Jefferson Elementary. There's 100 students in the 4th grade classes this year, and so the teachers reached out to us, and we are interested in collaborating with the schools. We're very committed to equity and diversity and inclusion, and so these kids are going to come by every Friday in May, 25 groups, in groups of 25, I'm sorry, from 11 to noon. If you'd like to be there, I've seen Marjorie hanging around the garden sometimes. I always see Gus. You're certainly invited. It's really fun when they come for their field trips. They're very excited. It's their introduction to the museum and to local history. The things we're going to hand out to them are in English and Spanish this year, and we're committed to continuing to do that. So we're very excited about that. And now the 3rd grade teachers have contacted us, and they want to come by too. So anyway, you're invited every Friday in May, or just contact me and let me know and pretend you're a student. So then, as Robert mentioned, the AV Film Festival reached out to us. They're doing their gala opening in Cloverdale Friday night. They're doing it here at CPAC. They're closing off the street thanks to City Council, and we're going to be open. And so it's just going to be exactly what I think Council envisioned a long time ago, which is a civic and cultural center in downtown Cloverdale. And we're really happy to be collaborating with the film festival. So come by. I think it's like 5:30 to 9. We all are also working with the Wine Walk every Saturday, first Saturday in May. That's been really good for us. I don't know if you've participated in it. It's like 10 wineries that you get to go to, way too much. I tried it once. I could only do like 5, but it was a lot of fun. Anyway, it's very nice to see you all. And I really enjoy seeing you there when I see you in the garden. So thank you for your time.
Thank you both. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. C, communications. Is there any communications at this time, David?
Mayor, there was some additional correspondence received after the agenda packet was posted. Those were in relationship to items on the agenda, and they're placed in your they're placed on the agenda and available for your review.
Thank you, sir. Student liaison report. Our student liaison was not allowed, or not able to be here tonight. Yeah, she's in trouble. She's at a track meet, so she turned in a report. I'll read it. It says, at the high school currently, the track team is having their last home meet, which today is their senior night. Last week, on 18th through the 20th, the drama class had a play on Charlotte's Web, which was Mr. Dobbin's last play that he had directed before retiring for the school year. Also, on Tuesday, we finished state testing, and now whoever didn't finish their testing will get called out of class to finish. For the Washington yesterday, they had a home meet for track. For Jefferson, from the 15th through the 26th, they will be doing state testing. Officer Ricky Rhodes has begun his role as a school resource officer. The Square One art has been extended. Lastly, on Friday, they will be having a Spirit Day, which will be wearing your favorite Western attire. Is it from IATA? So wonderful. All right, get back. Any questions from anyone? Moving into E, proclamations. E1, Administrative Professionals Week and Day. Is there anyone that would like to read this?
I can. I'm getting there. Proclamation of the City Council of the City of Cloverdale recognizing April 21 through 27, 2024 as Administrative Professionals Week and April 24, 2024 as Administrative Professionals Day in Cloverdale. Whereas the Administrative Professionals Week, established by the International Association of Administration Professionals in 1952, traces its roots to the National Secretaries Association when the first National Secretaries Week, now known as Administrative Professionals Week, was held. The National Secretaries Association was established in 1942 as an initiative to recognize the importance of secretaries to the corporate workplace, as well as showcase the field as a worthy profession. Whereas Administrative Professionals Week is now observed annually the last full week of April, and this year will be celebrated April 21, 2024 to April 27, 2024, and is dedicated to recognizing and applauding the brilliant work of administrative personnel nationwide. And whereas Administrative Professionals Day in 2024 is celebrated on April 24, 2024, to recognize the important contributions, dedication, and valued work of administrative support staff. And whereas the work of administrative professionals requires advanced knowledge and expertise in communications, computer software, office technology, project management, organization, customer service, and other vital office management responsibilities. And whereas administrative professionals play an essential role in coordinating the office operation of businesses, government, educational, and other organizations throughout the city of Cloverdale. And whereas administrative professionals are critical to the daily operation of the city of Cloverdale, departments at City Hall, and the city officially recognizes they are the first and sometimes only interaction with our citizens. These encounters and the direct assistance provided leave the community with lasting impressions of the city and its services. And the council and management supports their professional growth and sincerely appreciates their continued hard work, dedication, and professionalism. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed that Mayor Todd Lands of the City of Cloverdale does hereby declare April 21, 2024 to April 27, 2024 as Administrative Professionals Week, and today, April 24, 2024 as Administrative Professionals Day, both saluting all of the amazing administrative professionals who positively contribute to the city and the Cloverdale community, as well as dedicate themselves to the administrative profession. Dated April 24, 2024, so ordered, Mayor Todd Lands.
Sir? Tonight, our recipient of the Administrative Professionals Week is Letisa Baratas. Please come forward. She is the first face you see for the city in City Hall.
planning on saying anything, but just on behalf of my coworkers and everybody in the office, thank you.
Dave, would you like to say something?
Mayor, council members, I'm so proud that the council is presenting the proclamation tonight to Leticia Baraja, or as we call her, Letty. Letty represents, is truly a professional, and so glad that she is the face and voice of Cloverdale when folks come into City Hall along with her team. And, we've seen her grow professionally. Now she's served in all 3 positions in our front office, and she always does it with a smile and does her work quite well. So I'm so proud of Letty, and I'm so proud of our team. I feel like we just really offer great customer service and are always problem solving and solution oriented. So I just want to thank her for being a member of our team.
Letty, I just want to say thank you. Even when you have to say no, you say it with such compassion. And we just really appreciate you. And I'm just so happy that you've been with us it just kind of seems like yesterday that you came on board with the team. And about 10, I know, it just seems like it has just gone so quickly. And I just really appreciate your professionalism. And I've, been just, happened to be in City Hall when you're interacting with members of the public, or maybe council members, or maybe other staff. And I'm just so proud that you're there at representing us. So thank you for all your hard work, and thank you to your family too, because I know that they support you so much in your work, and you've made them, part of our city events. And you bring your family out when we have, Friday Night Live, or we have, other events, and it's just always nice to see the kids growing up and seeing you supported in your work. So thank you so much for what you bring to City Hall. We appreciate it.
Councilmember Walter?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Letty, I don't have to tell you that a longtime city employee retired. I guess it's been about a year now, maybe. And you stepped right in there and filled those shoes, and doing a wonderful job, and you've got a great staff under you. So that's really appreciated, I know, by the community and by the council. Thank you.
I wanted to thank you for your hard work. I've been an admin before, and I know you have to wear all kinds of different hats to get your job done, and you have to deal with the public and everyone else. And thank you for your commitment to helping Cloverdale.
Letty, thank you very much, not only you, but the whole staff up front. It's always a pleasure to come in there, and I know when you guys are dealing with the citizens of Cloverdale, they always seem to leave happy, at least most of them do. So anyway, thank you very much for what you do, and also thank you for always having the updated code to the door, because that changes continually. So thank you very much.
Yeah. It is the little things, and it's being the first face. You're the person that's going to make or break how a conversation goes, how the taste in someone's mouth goes, and when they come out and when they leave you, are they going to be mad at us? Are they going to be mad at the city? What is going to go out there on social media? What are people going to hear? Because when you pick out a product, you don't go on Amazon and give 5 stars for things. You only go on there when you need to give 1 star for things. And we don't have that problem seeing a whole bunch of 1 stars in this, because you guys give 5-star personal guidance and whatever is needed for whoever, whether it's bills or questions or whatever they have to ask. To see that is great, and it just shows that what you and your staff are doing is amazing, so thank you. Can we take a picture?
Yeah.
Sure. By the way. You all match.
Are you okay up here? Get up, come on, you come.
Where should I get?
Jump up when he clicks.
You're surprised how many people I'm like, "Oh, why wasn't I in the picture?" And I'm like,
Greg on board? David or Michael, do you know if we have Greg on board?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on to F, presentations. F1, presentation by ISOM advisors on voter survey results on a potential revenue measure.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm going to ask our city clerk to promote Greg Isom. A little bit of background on Mr. Isom. Greg is part of a firm, Isom Advisors. They're a full-service planning, campaign, and financial advisory firm. One of their specialties is serving California school districts, but they serve cities as well. Most recently, they supported the Cloverdale School District's bond issuance in the amount of $46 million for various improvements in our community. His staff was requested to evaluate the feasibility of a bond measure, either a general obligation bond or a potential sales tax measure. And given his very unique knowledge of Cloverdale community or demographics, I think he was a great fit. Back in almost a year ago, back in May of 2023, Mr. Isom gave a presentation to the council that addressed the city's ability to support a voter-approved financing measure. And following that presentation, council gave direction to staff to work with Isom Advisors on conducting a voter survey. What we're going to do tonight is to present the results of the voter survey and offer for the council's consideration whether to proceed with placing a potential measure on the ballot in November. There will be specific discussion tonight whether to consider a sales tax measure, a general obligation bond, which usually is funded in the form of a parcel tax, or a combination thereof. So, and we set forth kind of what that process looks like in the agenda report. But really, at this point, we just want to present the results of the voter survey to the council and get your input and feedback. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Greg Isom, and he's going to walk you through a PowerPoint presentation providing an overview of the results of the voter survey.
And Greg, this is the city clerk. Did you want me to present or have the presentation up, or were you planning on sharing? I notice you're in a car. We're not getting audio from you, Greg.
Like I would present.
Greg, if you can keep talking, I think it's that button up there that we got to touch to get the Zoom. We're not getting his Zoom feed audio.
Cannot hear you yet.
Not yet.
Bueller? Bueller?
Shows that he's got.
Let's see. Says I'm on.
Yeah, just stand by there, Greg. We can see you, but we can't hear you yet.
Let's see if I do this.
Greg, can you?
Did that work? Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. Okay, yeah, so if you guys could, if you could put the presentation up, that
Now
would
we can't
be
hear you again, Greg.
beneficial to me. And I'll go through this. And while it's being pulled up, I'll just kind of go through the methodology of the survey. Does that work for you, Dave?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Greg. Let's.
Okay. So we conducted a voter opinion survey at the end of last year to kind of get a gauge on how people would feel about doing some type of tax measure. We chose the month of October because generally, if you're serving people in the month of October, it's similar to, October of 2024. So we wanted to see, what things are going on during tax season. People get their tax bills. How are people going to respond to this? So we started the survey Monday, October 2nd, went through October 5th. Tested voter attitudes about the city, projects to be funded, tax tolerance level. 174 individuals were contacted, which represents approximately 9% of voters with the actual working phone number. So this thing is it's pretty accurate, as I said, and I've done enough surveys in the county. Recently just did one in Windsor, doing one in Healdsburg. So I've seen a lot of Sonoma County surveys, so I feel pretty good with the results and where they stand right now. So if you go to page 3, when we started doing the survey, we just kind of gave them like a softball question, just to make them feel kind of comfortable with the process of how this goes. So we said, hey, would you say that the city of Cloverdale is headed in the right direction or the wrong direction? You can see 60% said right direction, 22% had no idea, and 18% said wrong direction. You're going to say, well, is this good or is this bad? This is actually pretty normal, okay, when we kind of throw out this fluffy question at the beginning. And actually, I'm surprised on how many people said right direction as opposed to don't know. Most voters who take voter opinion surveys tend to be a little bit more older. I'll just say they're a little bit older, more conservative, and so they have no idea really what's going on. So 60% right direction is actually a pretty good number. Okay. So then we go to page 4, and this is where we kind of said, well, at this time, the city of Cloverdale is looking to make significant capital and infrastructure improvements, considering increasing a bond before voters and community. Let me read you the proposed language. So we actually read that yellow box to improve the city of Cloverdale, upgrade parks and open spaces, blah, 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 blah. Shall the city of Cloverdale, 23.5 million. So all that language, where it says shall the city of Cloverdale and below is pretty much all required legal language. So we wanted to say exactly how people are going to read it. And even if people are confused by it, we're perfectly okay, because this is how people are going to, hear this, whether it's from people or if they are, sitting at home reading this yellow box. So when we read it to them that way, we said, would you vote yes in favor? Would you vote no to oppose? And you can see we had 52% said yes, 5% were leaning yes, 11% were undecided, 2% leaning no, and 31% were no. And so the lean no and the lean yes, these are voters that said, hey, I'm undecided. And then they were further pressed and said, well, are you undecided leaning yes or are you undecided leaning no? And so that's where you kind of get those numbers right there. And mind you, for a bond, we're looking at 2/3. So we're kind of below, the threshold, even if we included the lean yeses, so we're kind of at that 56, 57 number, but with a big chunk of undecided voters. So if we go to the next page, this is where we asked about specific projects that could be funded by the bond measure, or any other type of tax measure you guys are considering doing. And we actually prioritize them by the most popular to the least popular. Okay, so on this page here, you can see, receiving what number is that? Close to over 70%. Modernize and upgrade the city's parks and open spaces. People like that one. Health, safety, and security. Totally general statement supported. Create new parks, trails, and outdoor recreation spaces. Strongly supported. Construct a skate park to help provide a safe space for our city's youth. I was surprised by the results of that one. Strongly supported. Improve roads and transportation. Still over 2/3. Complete deferred maintenance projects at the Civic Center, park and recreational facilities, and for roads and parking. Still supported. And so let's go to the next page. And these are the ones that got below 2/3. Invest in renewable energy and sustainable projects. And while we tend to kind of focus on the red and the yellow, which represents the support, what we also want to pay attention to more so is that orange and green, which is a project that people don't want to do. Because you can see there's a big chunk of voters that said, no difference, whatever. So we said expand and redevelop the downtown plaza to attract more visitors and help local businesses. We're at 60%, and you had, 7% said, no difference. And then another like 1 to 2% said, I don't know. Yeah, but you can see we're starting to kind of trickle into that negative 30% or above. Upgrade inadequate internet services, including high-speed broadband infrastructure. That one's fine. Modernize, renovate the Civic Center facilities, including City Hall and the police station. You can see that one has a little bit of negativity below the 2/3. Okay. So overall, though, I don't think that there's a project which is like a total dead on arrival project. I think the community sees a need or wants some of, what's missing in their minds. And so at the end of the day, we then got to start talking about money. Okay. Because obviously bonds and tax measures cost money. So let's go to the next page. So here, having done the work in Cloverdale and surrounding areas, I kind of know what tax thresholds would be. So I didn't want to start super high, but I didn't want to start super low because I truly want to see, is there a threshold? So if we start at the $60 number, you can see 49% were yes, 3% lean yes, 2% lean no, 42% said no. So $60, that's a little rich. What if we did the $50 tax rate? Well, you can see if we drop it by $10, you actually increase by 7 percentage points. The lean yes is at 1, the no votes 3 cents. You actually drop 5 negatives, which is kind of cool. And then when we went to $45, you can see we actually, went up another 7 percentage points. I would almost guarantee you that if we said $49 or $49.99, we probably would have had the same results. There's just certain numbers that we kind of play around with to see what makes voters, respond a certain way. Okay. So, you're almost at the 2/3 voter support the $45 tax rate. So we go to the next page. This is kind of where we say, you know what, now that we've given you more information, would you vote yes or would you vote no? I intentionally ask right after the tax rate question to see how people respond. And your level of support of yes actually went up 6 percentage points. Your lean yes is still 3.3, 3.3 undecided. I mean, a lot of your undecided voters kind of went to the left and went to the right. But once again, even if we were to factor in, your lean yeses and even some of your undecideds, you're still below that 2/3. So when it comes to a bond for you guys, I think that you could do a bond, but I don't think you can kind of max it out at the $60 limit. Okay. And I'll get into some more of those later on. So at next page. So now we also talked about, in order to fund infrastructure improvements, cities also considering placing a sales tax measure. What if the measure would add an additional 0.75% to local sales tax and generate approximately 10.5 million? Would you vote yes? And people said, whoa, slow down there, partner. Only 40.5% said yes. Half the voters pretty much said no. 2.6 leaning no, 5.2 undecided, 2.6 leaning yes. So I think that percent is probably out of the question. So let's go to the next one. When we go to the, 50 cents, let's call it, generate 6.9 million. Okay, well, now we're talking. We now went up to 47.1%. I'm going to pull, let me see something really quickly. I'm looking at my own notes. We went up 7 percentage points. And the funny thing, I don't even think that the average voter knows what this percent even means. They just know that it's lower. Okay. The no vote was 45, the lean no 2, undecided 3.3. Next page where we just went to, let's call it the quarter. Went up to 59.5, 2% lean yes, 3.3 undecided, 33% said no. So, is there a sales tax measure in your future? If you guys want it, yeah, I think there's a sales tax measure either at the 0.25 or the 0.5. Okay. But when we go to the next page, well, Greg, when we originally talked about this, we said, would voters want to do both things, right? But just, really quickly, prior to that, though, we asked the question again. You said, well, now you've heard more information about proposed sales tax, 58.2%, right? 34.6, 2% lean yes. Mind you, there obviously is a margin of error. So let's just say the margin of error is 5 to 6%, right? So we're right on that border of that 50% plus 1 for a sales tax measure. Okay. But when we go to the next page and we say, well, now that you've heard information about bonds, the 2 funding options, and the sales tax, which one would you vote for if the election were held today, or if the election were held today? So first pie chart we need to pay attention to is the blue. So yeah, 35% of your voters said I'd vote for both no matter what. Okay. And then you had 14.4 said sales tax only. So if we combine that with the both measures, sales tax, you're kind of almost at that 50% number. Bond measure only, you're at the 40, 55% kind of number. 3.9 don't know, 28% said neither measure. So I think what the answer is odds are you cannot do both measures, okay, at the same time. Something we were considering. I know that at one point, none of us thought that was probably a possibility, but you never know unless you ask the question. Okay. So if we go to conclusions and recommendations, there's a couple positive takeaways from this. Okay. Positive takeaway 1 is that people actually think you guys are headed in the right direction. Right. Turn to the last page for me, please. So people think that the city's in the right direction. One more. When it comes to the projects that you asked them, they actually, like the projects. Okay. It's just a matter of, they're a little just tax sensitive when it came to some of the stuff. Is there something for you guys for the sales tax measure? 100%. That is in the cards. Is there something for the bonds? Doing a bond measure by itself, you would have to have a very reduced tax rate in order for the bond to win. But having said that, I think you guys, it's not a both, it's an either. If I was, if you guys said, Greg, make the recommendation right now, I'd say focus on the sales tax measure. So that's my conclusions, recommendations. As I said, I believe a sales tax would win in the city of Cloverdale. You just got to, find the exact number that you want to use. And I think ultimately, this is just part of the process. We have another couple months to, talk to some key stakeholders in the community and ask them their opinion. What do they think? And I'd even ask them, what do you think of the bond? What do you think of the sales tax? What's your opinion on these things? And then if it comes back positive, I think that's a winning tax measure. If you have some key stakeholders say, whoa, slow down there. What are you guys thinking? That'd make me hit the pause button a little bit. But ultimately, I think you guys should, if you need money and you have need, and you're okay with, going to the voters, I think a sales tax measure is in your future. And that's my presentation. I can answer any questions you guys have.
Room. Councilmember Bagby, would you like to go first here?
Greg, I wonder if you could kind of, discuss the decision-making process in light of the possibility of ACA 1 passing. And then also, do you think that depending on what happens with SB 1031, if that's going to maybe dampen the appetite for new sales taxes, if that gets on the ballot in November, or gets on the ballot, or is kind of on the horizon at some point? So ACA 1 would lower the constitutional vote threshold to 55% for both go bonds and special taxes.
Yep.
And then SB 1031 is the MTC proposed legislation for transformative Bay Area transformation. And what they mean by transformative is bailing San Francisco out, but still possibly applying a 0.75% sales tax to us, which would put most folks in Sonoma County and around the Bay Area like really at the sales tax ceiling. So all of this stuff is kind of, floating around in ether. And it may just, impact voters' appetites to, I know we took this survey back in October, which I think that I have no problem with the timing,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering if the next couple of months things are going to shake up a little bit.
So in regards to the first one, in regards to, taking geo bonds and other things down to 55% and, like retroactive even, do I think that has a chance of winning, if it gets on the ballot? I do. And so then the thought process becomes, well, should we throw something up there and hope that we get 55%, right? Something to consider. I think if you were going to do it, I would put so much more of an emphasis on your sales tax measure rather than the bond measure. If the bond measure happens to, squeak by, then great. If not, I'd still focus on this one. I'm sure that one's going to be challenged as well. So I think that one might get stuck in the court system. The second one about the San Francisco, here's the reality. When it comes to all the stuff that goes on, the average person is not paying attention to this stuff. The average person, I mean, as I said, if you ask my wife right now and I'm in this business, she would have no idea what you're talking about, and so when it comes to, should we hit the pause button in light of something that might happen? I don't think so, and I don't think that the average, Cloverdale resident will be paying attention to that as well, nor do they care what's going on. I think that they're truly going to be voting on what's important to them. And I think that, you're in a better position to be successful and with the sales tax than anything else right now.
Sure. Councilman Walter.
Oh, thank you. I have a couple of questions in either for you or for David, but I think this whole process is going to be an educational one for us to help educate our community. I'm going to ask David here in a minute to explain the current sales tax and exactly how much comes into the city coffers out of every dollar that's collected on sales tax here in Cloverdale. And also to reiterate the fact that this, if there is a ballot initiative and it's successful, 100% of that dollar amount will come to the city coffers. We would not have to split it with the state, the school district, or anyone else. It comes right into Cloverdale. And I think you'll see when David explains to you how little we actually get in sales tax dollars. So I'm excited about helping to educate the community and make them a little more aware of our finances. But David, could I impose on you to do that?
Absolutely happy to through the mayor. As we all do, we all pay sales tax, but what we aren't familiar with is the percentage that's returned to the city. The sales tax, the technical name is the Bradley Burns 1% local sales tax, and that 1% is of the sales tax that you pay when you make a taxable purchase is returned to the city. What that amounts to in terms of our most recent sales tax forecast is just about $1.1 million. So the total amount of purchases that a consumer is making is, in the amount of taxes they pay, is much greater than that. We obviously pay a number of add-ons already that have been enacted by the voters within Sonoma County or within California. Those taxes include, I'll just list those here for you in just one second. Let me pull them up.
And my apologies, David, for catching you off guard. I was under the impression that we got 17 cents on every dollar collected that came back to the city, and the rest actually stayed in Sacramento and to the county.
Yeah, the exact, I think that's kind of pertains to property taxes is about 17 cents on the dollar. Sales tax works on a percentage basis, so it's really a 1%. But there are some additional taxes that you pay, that all voters pay, or that all consumers pay within Sonoma County. It includes a quarter-cent sales tax for Measure F, which it was for open space, an 8-cent sales tax for the library, a quarter-cent sales tax for mental health, an 8-cent tax for parks, a quarter-cent for transportation, and a quarter-cent for smart. So there's the total sales tax that's paid. The majority of that gets allocated to the state, again, 1% back to the city, and then the special taxes get allocated to those specific entities. One thing to note is that as you, I think where you were going with this, Councilmember Walter, is what if the council considered enacting a district sales tax?
Yes.
And in that particular instance, if either a quarter-cent or half-cent, all those proceeds come back to the city. It's kind of considered as a way to look at it as kind of a point of destination. Some of the things that where that becomes particularly important is if a local resident purchases a vehicle, let's say at a dealership located in Santa Rosa, they would pay the normal sales tax, as all consumers do, and that becomes a point of sale. If council decided to place a sales tax measure on the ballot and it was approved, and let's say it was a quarter-cent sales tax, the revenue from that quarter-cent sales tax, all of that would come back to the city. So in terms of kind of a number to put in mind, is, again, using the figure of roughly $1 million that we collect in terms of our 1%, a quarter-cent sales tax would, based on estimates we received today from our sales tax consultant would generate about $500,000. Again, round numbers. A half-cent sales tax would generate about $1 million. So kind of gives you a perspective in terms of if again, council supported placing a sales tax measure on the ballot, what type of revenue we might anticipate should it get approved by the voters.
So we could pave quite a few roads in town with that, I would think. So, and another question is, how many individuals took the survey? I don't know if you mentioned that up front, but I didn't get to hear that.
174 individual.
I'm sorry?
174 individual Cloverdale residents.
Yeah, represented about 9% of city voters with the working voters.
Yeah, and these voters as well, these tend to be your high propensity voters. So these aren't your, people who have never voted before.
Hey, Greg, thanks for the presentation. I had the chance to sit in, caught one of the meetings when you and the mayor and David were talking and kind of got the gist of it. I was looking forward to this presentation, and thank you. It answered most of my questions, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and maybe some context for council. Tomorrow, council has a special meeting to conduct a budget workshop. You're going to see in fiscal year 24-25, there's a structural deficit of approximately $1 million. In large part, that is costs that we have not a whole lot of control over. Certainly council does have direct control over those costs, but there's not a lot of discretion there, is I guess where I'm going with that. And there's tremendous needs in our community in terms of improvements to, of course, as you mentioned, Councilmember Walter, to our roads. We have a lot of interest in the community for a number of public improvements, including parks. And to be able to fund the needs of our community, I think it's critical that the council consider the possibility of placing a measure on the ballot before the voters. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into a strategy. If you so direct tonight, we would continue to work with Mr. Isom and Isom Advisors, his team, to craft a ballot measure that would, address what I think are some very serious and significant financial needs of our city.
So Greg, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate all you're doing. I know we've worked on a couple of bonds in the past. My question to you, and I don't know if you'll know the answer, I'm hoping you do, the amount of money that you get under the GO bond for the 45, 50, and 60, what is the difference? I see there was a 23.5 million total. Is that for the 60?
Yep.
Okay, do you know what it would be for a 45?
I can figure it out really quickly.
And it can be rough. I mean, are we getting down to the 15 range, 18 range?
Yeah. Let's just use, when you get into the 40s, you're probably at the, let's just say $16 million range.
Gotcha. Okay. It's $45 per 100,000 for the GO bond, and that's a 2/3 vote at this point.
Correct.
So, and it may become 55, which would be wonderful. However, the question is, I know that you don't like to lose, Greg. So, as a betting man,
I've never lost in Sonoma County, so.
Well, and I don't want me to be the first here. So, I look at this and I say we could win with 50 with enough education to the public of why we're doing this.
Correct.
And win on both. Because if you want roads, if you want your parks and rec, and you want your infrastructures, we have to have this. Inflation is outgrowing our low-income community. It is what it is. And so I see a $50 or $49, however we want to word it on that. I see that passing, along with your half-cent sales tax. it's pushing it. And like I said, I'm a betting man, and I'd be willing to take that chance and walk the streets and knock on a lot of doors. What do you think?
Me?
Yeah, you. Yeah, the guy that hasn't
I
lost
think-
yet,
I
and we
think- I
won
think
twice
you're-
together. So
I think your bond, if you're gonna go for the 50 cents or the 0.5%, I think your bond amount needs to be lower than $30.
not even worth it to do.
I'm just being honest. I mean,
How about if we do?
that means you could do a bond for $12 million.
Then let me ask you one more question. If we only did one of these, say we did the sales tax only, what are the chances of the 3/4 cent passing and explaining how that would work to, if we educate the public that that's everyone, that's not just on the backs of the homeowners?
I think you have a better chance of pushing it going for the larger sales tax.
Okay. And that, to me, honestly, I know it's horrible to say for our parks and our trails and the open space and things we're trying to do. Times maybe we start looking at infrastructure and paving roads instead. I don't know. That's what. Now let's go back around the table again with these. Councilmember Bagby.
Well, I mean, I appreciate Greg's candor, and I certainly do not want to decrease his batting average in any way, because I know that that's a point of personal pride for a lot of us who've worked on campaigns. But I do have a concern with a higher sales tax, and this is why, is that, sales taxes are always regressive, and they're a bigger burden on the people who are less, who have lower incomes. They also can greatly impact the sales tax that's collected at the gas pump, and those are folks who usually have to travel farther for their work. So, I'm concerned about some of the equity issues. I would be, this is really a tough one to read the tea leaves on, because we have information that indicates that, yeah, we'd have better odds for the sales tax, but there's also some opportunity around bonds. I mean, my biggest concern, honestly, is the issue of the police department. And I would say, let's get those 5,000 or so, or what was about 5,200 registered voters, something like that. And I would take them on, each of them personally, on a tour of the police department, but I'm afraid that would fall down after something like that, because that's how dire the situation is. So, it might be incumbent on us to really, take some responsibility here and hone our message. The irony here is that there is a predisposition to be opposed to police, to public buildings. But the fact is if folks in our community knew how precarious that building really is, and knew that in a medium-sized earthquake, the possibilities we would lose our police department and our dispatchers and our ability to basically for it to function. We the only emergency operations center we have in this city is the firehouse, and that belongs to the district. So it may be a matter of folks on council and for us maybe starting working in the community to really explain to people where we are. I also would like to personally take everybody down Antonio Street, except, I don't want to put more traffic on that street. It has to be a walking tour because it's so bad. So, and that's just one example of a street that has just basically gone down to sub-street. So I think that we probably need to that we have this conversation, hear from the public at some point tonight, kind of balance the pros and cons, but just really be honest with folks in the community. And, the fact is the reason that we have to, go out for this additional financing is our structural deficit and our poor tax base, which, unfortunately is a result of some, poor policy directions in the last several years. And we are in a position where we have to go out asking for more bonding money and asking for a sales tax because we've got to close that gap. We have to continue to provide these essential services to the community. So I'd be interested in hearing from the public on what they think is a good direction or a balanced approach.
Mayor Lance, I would be in favor of doing a sales tax, but bringing it up to 0.75 or 3/4. I don't think we can go back to the well anytime soon if it's passed, and I think we can use that money for, like Councilmember Bagby said, Antonio Street is a mess, but really all of Tarman is a disgrace. That whole section there needs infrastructure and new paving. So I'd like to see us go for the 3/4 as opposed to a half. And I'm not necessarily at this point in favor of doing a parcel tax. So that's just my 2 cents on it. But I would like to also hear what the public has to say. So.
I definitely want to hear what the public has to say, and I definitely support fixing more of our roads and building a new police station.
I don't know, I like the idea of I'm with Councilmember Walter there. I like the idea of the 3/4. I mean, we've got to do something here. I mean, it's going to be, and like the mayor said, I mean, we're trying to juggle everything here, and I think we need to lean heavily towards infrastructure and really take whatever money we get out of that, if it passes, and once again, I'd like to hear from the public on that too, but say it does pass, take that money and really drive it home and fix some stuff around here. In my mind, you know, it seems we've got a lot of projects in mind, but we do need that revenue coming in, so that's the choice we're going to have to make, so.
All right, at this point, I'll open it up to the public, see if you have any public comments. Please come forward.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Shirley Davis. As an average person here in Cloverdale that wouldn't understand a lot of this stuff, first I'd like to say that presentation was very poor. You couldn't see 90% of all of the words and the statements that were put up there on the slides. So as a community member, I don't know what you're talking about, okay? I have a fast talker sitting in his car. Thank God you're not all in your cars. That's great, you're here in person. Too bad he wasn't. The other thing is on a sales tax, whether you do it as a sales tax or a bond, please educate the community to tell them exactly what this money will do. Gus Walter has mentioned it, so has Melanie. And that's what you need to do. Instead of just throwing out there to somebody who may not understand, help them understand, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I see you. I saw you leaning out of your chair.
I'm Reese Foxon, and when you're talking about 0.75% of sales tax, I think you also need to look at what other tax bonds or tax measures are going to be on the ballot, because people are going to be adding that up. And if we have 3/4, and I know somebody else is coming through with a half, somebody else may be coming through with an eighth, that begins to add up, and people will go cut the largest, and we're going to go for the smaller ones. So that's something to think about as you go through this. So that's just a thought I had. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Reese.
Can I respond?
Absolutely, go ahead.
You know, Reese, I hear exactly what you're saying, and my hope is that we can let Cloverdalians know that this tax is to the benefit of Cloverdale within the city limits. So it's, oh, absolutely. And it's incumbent on us as a council and to make sure that it's well presented to the community through workshops and like the mayor said, door-to-door walking, canvassing, and just let people know how we're going to use this money. And, okay, thank you.
Good evening, Daniel Frankston. This is my third time to partake in this particular issue. I listened carefully when the presentation was initially made by, is it Craig is his name? The car occupant, because he was in the car last time too. In addition, I was one of the people that was actually surveyed, and I'm glad to be back and glad to see this is on now. A couple of questions that I would have is, I don't know the extent to which the passage of the Sonoma County tax during the primary, how that would affect people's attitudes, because the survey was taken before that. So that's one thing to consider. Also, I don't know, maybe the city attorney could answer the question. If there is a initiative that's on the ballot for November to lower the threshold for bonds to 55%, would passage with 55% in Cloverdale in November, would that be proper, or would it have to be sometime after that was passed? So that would be a second question that I would have. I think you all know income tax is the most regressive, sales tax is the most regressive form of taxation. And I think although it's obviously a lower hanging fruit because of the lower amount, I think that's something that really needs to be taken into consideration. This is not a wealthy town. We're already hit with additional 0.25% tax coming up. There's going to be more. I understand there's other initiatives to raise taxes. So I would encourage people to look in another direction. I realize the city has serious financial problems, and I understand that there needs to be movement in that regard. I just don't know that sales tax is necessarily the right way to go about it. Certainly not a 0.75% sales tax. Add that on to the 0.25% we have and whatever else is coming in November, it'd just be too much. The other thing is, I don't know what the outcome of this was, but there had been a discussion about town hall meetings. And this is certainly something that would be ripe for a town hall meeting. I agree with everyone here that taking people through to showing them what the Tarman track looks like, what City Hall looks like would be helpful. But I really think having a City Hall function where you guys sit on one side, maybe the other people with other views sit to just have a discussion and hear from the people as to what they're in favor of. And I would encourage you to keep the targets for the expenditures at big ticket items that people can really wrap their hands around. So repaving city streets, I think is great. I think a new police station is admirable. It might be a little bit too much of a bite with the revenues that's coming in, but that's certainly something that that would be helpful to have a town hall, to have all people coming around and getting their input on. So that's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel.
The answer for the 55%, just to let you know, it would be retroactive, so it would count for it. Anyone else in the public that would like to make a comment? All right, I'll bring it back to the dais and we'll go around and see final comments and direction.
Yeah, I think that a town hall is absolutely appropriate on this. I think we need to do outreach to the community and get people's input, but also, talk with them about what our big concerns are and why we're interested in one or both of these measures. I know that the average, resident of Cloverdale isn't familiar with the condition of the police department. They may not be familiar with conditions of streets that, aren't in their neighborhoods or aren't on their routes. And we just really need to bring folks up to date about what our fiscal reality is. We have a structural deficit in this community. And oftentimes, we're probably about to have an operational deficit in this community. And unfortunately, our operational deficits are kind of hiding away in our capital budgets because we have so much deferred maintenance. And it's not, if you just look at our fiscal, at our budget, it's not always obvious what the true dire nature of the deferred maintenance and the impact that it's had on the community really is. So we need to start having a series of outreach to the community to talk about this.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to see us direct staff to move forward on a referendum to put on the ballot And I think the amount should be 0.75% sales tax. And we could always change that as we get into it. We can change that number at some point before it goes to be printed on the ballot. But I'd like to see us go in for the bigger amount now and not have to say a year from now, geez, we should have did a little more. So, and like I said, in Councilmember Bagby, it's all about educating the community and, put pencil to paper and figure out exactly what it's going to cost you on a dollars of sales tax. For every dollar in sales tax you spend, how much are you going to actually be paying extra? So, thank you.
Councilmember Morgenstern.
I think a town hall would be a great idea because we really need
I think, just from the few that we've heard from, town hall is almost mandatory here. We've got to sit down with people and see how they want to do it. But also, I'm on the same side as Councilmember Walter there. I think we need to take a big bite here and not regret not doing it. So I'm in favor of doing the 3/4 sales tax, but also educating the public and answering their questions. I mean, that's what we're up here to do. That's if it involves walking around town, if it involves showing people infrastructure that's failing, everything. So I welcome that, and hopefully we can answer some questions and help educate people on this whole process.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I would caution, I would encourage rather that the council, if we want to have a town hall, to make sure we're doing that before we finalize and put this on the ballot, because once we vote to put this on the ballot, we become much more restricted in what we can do or what the city funds can be used for at that point. And of course, in your private capacity, you can go out and campaign and do all of that. But so if you want a city-sponsored town hall where we're sort of really explaining the need for that, I would recommend we do that first, and then at a later date come back with a formal, measure to put on the ballot.
And what is the deadline for to file?
That's what I was going to ask.
88 days before, so usually the first meeting in August, maybe the last meeting in July.
I'd say that if there's support to give direction to staff to make haste to arrange a town hall so that we can get that done. We need to hear the input from folks. This city has a history of not really spending our redevelopment dollars wisely. We were, probably one of the cities that Jerry Brown had in mind when that clawback took place. We need to re-earn the public's trust and really talk specifically about how this money will be spent. And we need public input for that, but we also have to keep that filing date in mind. So I would be in favor of making sure that we have at least one town hall, and depending on what the turnout and the response is there, we may need to just make sure that we have one in reserve that we can hold, and make sure that we get feedback and input from a spectrum of the community. Because I really don't feel, I'm very happy to see the public comments and folks coming and participating in this and the presentation before, but and of course we have our survey results, which I think are very representative of the registered voters in Cloverdale, but we need to have some additional feedback from some of the service providers and some of the folks who operate in Cloverdale, can really talk about what the impacts of either the sales tax and or the bond measure are really going to have on residents. It needs a much deeper dive than we've done on the dais so far.
Greg, let me ask you a question. How much time do you need?
Do you mean to prepare election and resolution docs?
Hold on one sec, Greg. They turned your volume down again. Are we good? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Can you answer that question for me?
How long does it take, you mean, for me to prepare resolution docs for the council?
Correct. Like,
A couple of weeks.
We're all in agreement that we need to hold town halls for this,
Yeah.
and we've been talking about and we're pushing our limits here. So what is like a final cutoff date for us to give you full direction?
Full direction, let's say, I mean, when are your council meetings? Do you guys meet in July?
We do.
Then that July meeting. So, I propose to have it ready. So a couple weeks before that July meeting, I can have everything ready. I can have all the template, everything done, and except for whatever the final number is that you guys use.
Great. So then what I would suggest is one of our next meetings in May is a town hall meeting instead of a normal council meeting.
May and
thank
or
you.
June.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I just wanted to wrap up my comments, trying to put this in perspective. You know, we're not even talking a penny of sales tax. We're talking 0.75 of a penny. You know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but boy, it really reeks a lot of benefits back to the city. So,
And that's the education portion.
yeah.
Councilmember Walter is, for every $100, it costs you 75 cents. It's not the end of the world for, even in a
Yeah.
low-income community, it's not as horrible as it sounds. And so that's the education portion for sure. I would look to David and Kevin as to calendar. What are your suggestions at this point on trying not to hold a special meeting here? How busy are we?
I think targeting a town hall meeting in the latter part of May, possibly early June, it seems to be certainly a reasonable time frame. The first meeting is May, so we're literally, our agenda deadline is next Monday. So I'm thinking maybe the second meeting in May, the 22nd. We could, certainly hold the council a town hall workshop, but it may be advantageous to schedule a special workshop around that date. Have it be an off-council meeting date, but otherwise the 22nd probably makes a lot of sense.
I'm not clear on something. Are we talking about doing a town hall meeting prior to us deciding whether to put it on the ballot or not?
Yes. Because
We did that with a survey. As far as I'm concerned, we need to move forward, get it on the ballot, and then start the educational process with the fireside meetings. We've already got the opinion of 200 individuals, people we heard here tonight. And like I said, my goodness, we're not even talking a penny. So I don't know, maybe I'm rich, but I think we need to move forward with this.
My worry, Councilmember Walter, is with a GO bond, because I think that is very important for our city. I don't know how long we're going to have until our police department is actually red tagged for being unsafe, and then I don't know what we do. And that's my concern, is I really need people to understand why we're doing this, and maybe it would change that message just enough to get the support for both, to cover what we need to cover to keep them in a safe building. Because if they don't have that building, or it goes in and gets red tagged right now, what do? We have to find a facility that they rent, and then we're paying more money than we're going to be spending now for sure, and then turn around and have to update that building before anyone can go back in. So I think that our obligation is this GO bond as well, and I think that we have to find a way to educate and try to change the temperature of the room a little bit to see if we can get that. That's why I would like to do it prior, and then once if we decided to had a direction and we put it on the ballot, we're very restricted to what our language is in that ballot to be able to do. So we're really restricted, and if the public had a different idea for that money.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that the advantage of having a town hall, I think Greg did a great job with the survey and the language in the survey. But if we go back to page 6 and it would rate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. So it would rate number 9, modernize and renovate civic center facilities, including city hall and the police station. That's really soft language, and it doesn't communicate what I think we need to do to communicate to the public, because you know, we have in recent memory, we have the 2017 fires and the 2019 fires, and people remember, you know, what an emergency that is. And we really, while I don't want to be an alarmist and I don't want to panic people, and I understand it's survey language, but I think maybe our job as in public meetings is to really talk about modernize, renovate civic centers, facilities. Let's tell you what shape they're really in and what will happen in an earthquake or a fire, and the public safety, the threat to your public safety and the well-being of your family and your property, what the impact will be if those buildings are not replaced. And I think that that's, you know, if we can start talking to folks in a town hall and start phrasing it a little bit more like that, because that's a little bit more accurate. And honestly, and again, it's like this is survey language, but he says at the top, kind of rating higher than that, surprisingly, invest in renewable energy and sustainable projects to reduce energy costs and improve air quality. That is also very important. But we're really not expressing to people that some of our systems, we've certainly improved them over the last year or so, but some of our systems are so antiquated that you are paying more in taxes, or we are paying more for energy than we need to because our systems are so inefficient and our systems are outdated. And that's really that's what we really need to communicate person to person, elected official and staff members to voters, is this is the real situation and that's why we're asking for it. And I think that a town hall is going to help us do that more effectively. I appreciate, you know, Greg's comments. I think it's very likely ACA 1 is going to pass. We're going to be in a position where the threshold is for the GO bond is going to be about 55%. I really think we need to split the difference between our property owners and the consumers in this community. I think at 75 cents is high, and that's going to be. I think it's going to be a harder sell than we actually think it is. And I think that we need to, if we possibly can, if it is feasible, we need to spread the burden amongst the parcel tax and the sales tax a little bit more evenly.
I just want to say, as a low-income person, I don't mind the sales tax at all. I don't think I'll even notice a difference if it did go up to 0.75%. And I can't speak for all low-income people, and I definitely would like to hear more from everybody else, but just in my own little life, it won't make any difference to me. And anything that could help us build more roads, fix our roads, and possibly create a new safe police station, I think that would be a good thing for Cloverdale.
I think the bottom line here is like Councilmember Bagby brought up, I don't think people really realize the condition of some of the buildings that we do have here. I would welcome you to come down and talk to the chief of police, talk to one of the police officers, talk to one of us, and we can set it up and actually walk through there and see what's going on and see it firsthand so you know what's going on, which is why we're going to be asking for this. And it's infrastructure is so important. As somebody that went through a fire, I know how important the police station is. It's a meeting point. It's an information point. It's a communication point. It has to be there. So town hall, yes, I'm on board with the town hall, but I would like to actually physically get people down and we can talk to the chief of police or some of the officers, like I said, and set up a time to go through and see where we're at, because that's super important to Cloverdale and the future of Cloverdale. So I'm on board with the 0.75 of a penny to push this forward.
Just add one more thing. I don't think it's a coincidence that our chamber mixer tomorrow night is at the Cloverdale Police Department. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think we should, make sure that that word gets out, that it's an opportunity, that we are talking about this, and it's an opportunity to see what the real conditions are there.
And I just want to make one more little point. It sounds like that we have direction as to how we want to go. We aren't choosing these two options because it's easy for us. We're choosing these because we're out of options, really. We've looked into every type of grant that you can get. We've worked hard. You don't find grants for things like this. The inflation has outdone us, and past practices going back decades have got us to where we are. And so if you want to have your roads redone after 60 years, this is where you vote. If you want to have your open spaces kept up and things in your parks nice, this is where you're going to have to vote for it, and it's going to take a little bit out of your pocket. And so this is where the education part comes in. We've been talking about the town halls all year, and it's time, and this is where it would fall. So it sounds like the direction is that we turn the second meeting in May into a town hall. I would ask Greg to be there if possible. Do we want to hold it somewhere besides here? Something that we are more part of instead of sitting the way we
Right.
are, that we can actually
We
be
may want to
part
have
of
it at the Citrus Fair if that's
police station.
available. Well, no, there isn't room. I think we need to have it at Citrus Fair, maybe either the tea room or the other big room. I'd like to see if that's available. I just want to, add something. You bring up a really good point about we're in this position because, we're out of options. But the bond money and the sales tax money is essential in a local match when we do go out for grants. And I think that that's one of the things that we need to communicate to folks in the town hall as well. And staff can do a little bit of, work ahead on that, is that, if we are able to raise, bond and or sales tax money, that is what it makes us eligible for more grants that require that local match, because some of the especially the competitive grants, that's what they require. So if city manager or finance director could kind of, prepare some scenarios or examples to show the public during a public meeting, that might be advantageous.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Bagby, about that particular comment. In fact, we're going to bring that point up tomorrow in the budget workshop. I think council provided direction to staff as part of the last 2-year budget to pursue grants, and we did aggressively, and I think we were actually very successful. With that said, we also see that there's a budget impact. Though you get that revenue, there's a cash match that's required, and that actually puts a burden on the budget. You get the money from the grant, but you have to contribute a share of the cost, which is a good thing, but it becomes a challenge if we were to get more grant funding to continue to be able to meet our cash match. So what you said is absolutely correct, and we'll certainly discuss that at tomorrow's budget workshop and bring that as part of the town hall discussion.
I think you have good direction at this point. And Greg, know that May 22nd we'll be summoning you, and hopefully you can make it all the way up here to the northern part of Sonoma County from your house. You lose them?
Putting it on.
Yeah, I know you like steak, so we'll get you taken care of.
Now we're good.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm sorry, go. You have one more?
I think we should say that the hours tomorrow night for the mixer at the police station, and the public is welcome, and they can do a tour of the police station, the hours are 5:30 to 7, and you can go there and have some wine and a bite to eat and do a tour of the police station.
That's right in, and we can put it under the informational as well. Thank you. Anything else before I close this item? Moving forward, thank you, Greg. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. And thank you for letting me do this here. My wife's been sick for 3 days, so I'm playing Mr. Mom and taxi driver to my 4 kids right now. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. We probably have some baseball practices and games in there as well.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, moving forward to F2, presentation, Parks and Recreation accomplishments.
Mayor and council members, the purpose of this presentation is to update the council on all the progress that's been made in the Parks and Recreation Department. We've completed a lot of projects over the past 2 years, and we're very proud of our work. It's been a big team effort involving a lot of staff members, and particularly Hector Galvan, our Parks Superintendent. So Hector, I'm just going to turn it over to you. We put together a little presentation, and I know Hector will quickly go through that.
You got like 2 minutes, yeah. Mr. Mayor, City Council members and staff, just like to echo Kevin, we thought it would be a good idea to recognize all the great accomplishments that we did here in the last year and a half. And so we put together, on your package, there's a very long presentation. I kind of went through it just because I felt bad, and I created a shorter version of a PowerPoint. So just a little introduction here. The newly formed Parks and Recreation Department, like I mentioned, we've been real busy completing projects. The projects were financed in different ways, Measure M money, grants, like David Kelly mentioned, and some general funds monies as well. We have a lot of great new attractions here in Cloverdale for not just the Cloverdalians, but our visitors. And I pretty much enjoyed, I was overseeing most of the projects, and I had had a good time doing it, and I love doing it. And if we can go to the next slide, Mike, please. So here, I wanted to start with pickleball. That picture right there was taken at the grand opening. But anybody that lives around that area, it looks like that on the weekends and in the evenings. The sport is growing like crazy here in Cloverdale and everywhere. Just talking to my colleagues here from Healdsburg, my neighboring cities here in Windsor. Right there, they're built where we used to have a sandbox, and so the area wasn't being used on a regular basis, so that was a perfect spot. Right here, it's at Ferber Park, and there's 2 full-size courts. And this right here, that's kind of so vegetation management, of course, has been a huge item that we've been working on and implementing in the last few years. This picture right here was taken at Porterfield Creek Open Space. We've done so far 4 prescribed burns, and we managed, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but we managed about 40 acres on the eastern side of the park. The main goal was to create a fire break from the park and neighboring Del Webb, Clover Springs residents, just in case of an incident. We had a lot of, we had some recommendations from Cloverdale Fire, and Northern Sonoma County fire crew or fuels crew, who were very instrumental on helping us create this, with their consultation, to create this fire break. And so yeah, so far we're hoping we can continue this effort using Measure M monies for parks. And this is the new basketball court. This picture was taken at the grand opening, but I mean, that basketball court is a huge success. I'm pretty sure that all of us here have in the past played basketball on the old basketball court, and it was I mean, we did a lot of repairs to it. It was to the point to where it's like, okay, we need to do something. So we built this 2 full-size basketball courts. We rerouted the drainage system to the park because originally it was going under the existing basketball court. So we rerouted it so it wouldn't cause any damage in the future. And like City Manager David Kelly said earlier, it was partially granted by, grant funded, but of course there was a lot of staff time and some general fund monies. And yeah, they're very popular, and they're being used daily. Next. I'll try to make this quick because I know you guys have been here for a while. So these are the new restrooms here downtown. There was a lot of concepts. I've been here for a long time, and throughout the years, there's been so many different concepts for restrooms. And we kind of took everybody's ideas and gathered it into one to kind of meet everybody's expectations. And so far, the restrooms, besides the toilet thief, they've been a success. And we have a doggy bowl, we have a drinking fountain, we have filter water, the LED lighting is very bright out there. It's not only just for the restroom itself, but for security purposes in our downtown. And it's been a great asset for downtown during events. Next one. So this picture was taken, this is the Soda Springs open space. You don't look at my spelling there below the springs. So this, I caught that when I was reading it before the meeting. So this picture was taken, when we found out that when we closed escrow is a great new exciting opportunity for us to create more recreation activities. 209 acres. We are currently working with Redwood Trail Alliance to draft the trail plan, which is pretty much completed. We submitted the funding request to the Ag and Open Space. I know we have a follow-up meeting on Monday coming up, so we're hoping that we can get those, those funding, that money, so we can get the park going and start breaking ground. And the vegetation management efforts, we started that already. Just from years of negligence, we had some residents, some inquiries from nearby residents regarding vegetation management. And so we allocated some funds and volunteer work and park staff work to get rid of all that vegetation that borders those properties. And we have our first, we're going to host the first Kids to Parks Day on May 18th. So clear your schedules. It's going to be hosted May 18th.
Time?
9:30, from 9:30 to 11. It's going to be hosted by myself. So they're in collaboration with the Boys and Girls Club. We're hoping to take a short tour of the park. This will be really the first opportunity for the city and the community to see the park. We've been doing some extra work out there just to dress it up for that day. And we're excited. We got some fun activities planned for the kids for that day. And if we go to the next slide. And these are just I wanted to show the restrooms here at the reason why I put the JPA River at the River Park Trail. We're currently working on the possibility of redoing the JPA for the River Park contract that we have with the city to possibly get some additional funding for some part-time staff. These are the restrooms that have been down there. They've been really popular. I think it's a great asset for Cloverdale. They walk down there and there's a restroom. So this is a good accomplishment. Problem is there's only a couple more. And then this was a dog park. This picture was taken at the grand opening at the dog park in collaboration with SMART, Sonoma County, and Public Infrastructure, and the city. I mean, as you guys know, pretty much everybody here had something to do with this project. And I'm talking, water, sewer, city council, people volunteering their time to get this project done. It was a great community effort. It was new for us, and we learned a lot, and we have a great park. And this, I think, I put that in there as it's the most popular park now. And the reason why I know that, so each doggy bag box, has 200 bags in it. And we replace 5 of them a week. So you're looking about 550 to 600 visitors, unless the dog is sick or something. But anyways, it's it's beautiful. Everybody loves it, and so it was a great accomplishment. And we're hoping that in the future here we have it in the budget that we're going to be discussing tomorrow to see if we can add some cameras there for safety purposes. And just the recreation surveys, with the help of City Clerk Mike, Kevin, again, everybody's put work into it. We've been, promoting some community surveys. We did one for Ferber Park not too long ago, and we got some great feedback from the community. Since then, we installed, I don't know if it's the proper word, but cornhole boxes, and they've been a great success. We installed some new garbage can receptacles, creek access, and we installed some benches, picnic tables. And this is all great, great popular topics. And we have plans to do more surveys. Of course, as we all know, more surveys translates to more work and from staff and money to purchase those amenities.
Just to add, we, with Mike's help, and we currently have a survey that's going online live to gauge the community's interest in what type of recreation programming they'd like to see. So, Mike, I don't know if you want to add anything, but Mike did a great job putting that together with.
Sure. Yeah, just really quickly, it is live on our website right now. You can just go to cloverdale.net. It'll pop up. You can also go to cloverdale.net/rec survey. It should automatically bring you to the survey. We want to get as many people to fill that survey out. So everyone in here is hopefully going to fill it out before they leave. And we're gonna reach out to the schools. We're gonna reach out to the senior center. We're trying to get everybody in Cloverdale, as many people as we can, to vote, so that we really understand what the community is interested in, so that we can kind of tunnel potential future funds, or be able to work with what we have to try to accommodate some of those requests and what they're looking for from the rec side of things. So we're hoping to have future surveys as well for the various parks, so that people can kind of give their input on each individual park, similar like we did with Ferber. But this one's citywide, so we're really hoping to get some quality participation in that.
Thanks, Mike. And just lastly, here comes the sales pitch, right? So one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up to you is because I've worked for the city now for 15 years. It's going to be 15 next week, and I know every single square inch of the parks. That's all I've ever done, and one of the reasons why I wanted to come and talk to you guys, because due to all the new amenities that we implemented into the regular maintenance, we're not able to keep up as far as maintenance goes. And I'm really here to get some help, because I hate bringing this up, just because looking at those budget restrictions. I'm in those meetings. I'm in the meetings with Susie, David, and the budget's scary. It's those numbers don't lie. I mean, we're heading into some pretty scary times, and I'm just coming out here to get some assistance and just ways. I'm looking for some ways to fund some part-time staff to help us out during the summer. We did the math, and we're looking for like $48,000, and that would fund us two part-time staffs for the summertime. And that's really what, one of the reasons why I wanted to come and talk, because for the last 15 years, everybody that knows me, I just go to work and don't complain much. But this time, I wanted to come and talk to you guys to get some assistance and some help, and to really look into this and see if we can help us get some extra help. Because the biggest reason is I'm not just looking out for myself and for the community, but I'm really looking out for the city and the liability if we don't get some help. So I'm sorry I had to bring it up, but I just thought I should mention it.
Thank you, Victor.
That's pretty much it.
All right, let's go around the council and comments, questions, concerns. Councilor Bagby, I'd like to start.
Sure, yeah. I really appreciate how you structured the presentation, Hector, because, it really shows how the parks they're essential to our community and our quality of life. And we've had this pent-up demand. I think the dog park was the perfect example. And it was great to be able to work with SMART and identify that property and finally bring that park. And I know that in the survey, we've got a question about the skateboard park. And
Right.
There were a lot of questions of like, well, gee, why did the city do a dog park before the skateboard park? And the simple answer was that we were able to do an MOU with SMART for property that was already available, and it was a field looking for a place to have a reason to live, and now it's our most popular park.
Right.
So I appreciate how you structured it, because I think that fire safety is number one on people's minds, but we don't necessarily tie together the fact that our hillside parks and the work that you've done to make sure that you create essentially a wildfire buffer with those parks that protect not just the folks who live in those up against those communities, but it protects the entire community. And I think that the work that's been done at the River Park, clearing the brush there and bringing it really actually back to a more natural state, has been so important for our safety as well. Parks and more activity bring public safety. They protect us from wildfire, and they protect our water quality. And I think sometimes they're seen as a cost center or a, a nice to have, but they really are essential for the community. And I think that since one thing you didn't bring up in your presentation.
I wanted to make it quick.
Yeah, you want to make it quick,
That I missed.
but since COVID, people want to be outside,
Yeah.
and that's not going away, and that's something the community that we need to be sensitive to. and respond to. And I think we've probably heard that from the public loud and clear that they want more parks, they want more resources. But, I really do look at the investment in our parks. They're going to improve our property values because we're a more attractive place to live. And they're also, parks serve all of those fire safety, access to public lands. They provide all of those added benefits that they actually do have a dollar value.
Right.
So I appreciate how you laid out the popularity of those parks and also the services that you provide to the parks and how they, they really impact the quality of life and the services that folks get here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Morgenstern, I think. Councilmember Walter.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hector, I just want to say thank you. Ditto what Councilmember Bagby said, but I also think my two favorite projects, well, actually, there's a couple of them. There's the pickleball, and you know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we can get another one in down there. And the dog park is spectacular. My favorite one is the restrooms in the plaza, and I say that because if you've never had a chance to see behind them when Hector opens those doors, there are more valves and whistles and meters in that for just a couple of flushers, and it's just amazing to see what goes into it. So thank you. I look forward to next year, hopefully the scout cabin and another pickleball court and a couple other things will be coming to fruition. So thank you.
Hector, the parks are awesome. They all look good. Every single one of them looks good. I think, and to kind of veer away from the parks a little bit, but repurposing all the benches too. I've already gotten, I don't know how many comments about the benches up Winery Trail. People are loving them. I like seeing those things, up there Porterfield Creek. It just looks good. The town, and also I want to thank you for coming up and saying, because I know how much work that takes. And I know that you being involved in so much paperwork lately, you're down to 2 guys and it's almost impossible to do. So yeah, thanks for coming and asking. When you need the help, man. Let's just, let's work on that.
It's easy for us to sit up here and, vote on things and say, hey, Hector, go do this. And then we don't give you a budget, and we don't give you the people to do it. And we've taken your workload, probably added about 50% without adding people to you. And I can't thank you enough for how hard you work. The projects that we've done have been decades in the making for our city. We've had nothing changed in so long, and people have just craved it here. And to see it coming around, it's so much better. Councilmember Bagby was hitting on it. It's the mental health of our community. For people to be able to go outside and have fun, feel safe, have somewhere to go to bring whether it's their dogs, their children, their grandchildren, whatever it is, even just to go sit on under a tree on some grass. It's not everyone gets that. And for us to have this, what we created as a destination, and I know I've said this in the past, and I know we talk about it a lot, is we're trying to create a destination for not just our community, but for everyone around us with all the parks and the open space. Our community asked and pushed, and we listened, and we're giving it. And this kind of, works with our last topic where we're like, well, you want it, you got to pay for it too. And so here you are asking for money because we've tapped you out.
Thank you.
And we understand that. Our community is not just low income. Our community is fixed income. Our community is about 60% 55 and over. And so with that comes different types of parks. You have parks for kids because they want to play on the swings, they want to go play baseball. But we also have to have the dog parks. We have to have the open space and walking trails. So it creates this huge need, which also creates a huge budget.
Right.
And here we sit saying, okay, how are we going to take our $1 million deficit and add to it?
It's scary.
So we hear you. We support you with what you're doing, and we're thankful for everything you do. You actually do more than what you're supposed to, and I know that if I text, things get done because you jump on things. You have a lot of pride in your community in Cloverdale, and we thank you and your workers for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Open it up to the public. If no one else has anything else to add right now, is there anyone in the public that would like to make any comments, questions, or concerns? see, yep, coming forward. Okay.
Hi, I'm Molly Fisher, and I live in Cloverdale, and I thank you, Hector. Every day, we appreciate your work. I just wanted to find out, how is your Adopt a Park program going, and if there's anything that maybe I can do to help drum up more volunteerism.
Could you comment on that for us, Hector? That'd be great. Thank you, Molly.
Thank you for your comment. Yeah, so it's getting more popular. We get anywhere from 2 to 3 volunteers, and that's every month we do a park, and sometimes depending on the weather, like wintertime it's kind of not that popular, but we're hoping that now that the sun is out, we're hoping that we can get more eager volunteers. Just today we had a volunteer at the city park, and we had a volunteer, sometimes even if, let's say the Adopt a Park a month is targeted to Vintage Meadows in U Park, sometimes residents call and hey, I would rather work, I live on 2nd Street, I'd rather work at this, and we make it happen. So we're hoping every week most of the weeks on the weekly newsletter, we have a little paragraph there, how to reach us and how to get a hold of us. My information's all over the city web, so please feel free to call me, and we can give you more information. And more than welcome to reach out. And there's anybody out there too that wants to volunteer, we need it. So, thank you.
Yeah, and if you do go on our website, you can see the Adopt a Park program is listed on there. It's a little separate from our Park a Month program. But if you go onto our volunteer opportunities page on the Rec and Park site, you can also see what dates we're going to be. So it looks like we're going to Porterfield Creek Open Space on April 28th from 9 to 12, looking for volunteers for that. But every month we have one Park a Month cleanup volunteer time. But there is the Adopt a Park program. So all that information's online, but definitely looking for volunteers. So.
You can always just call just my office, 1707. Everybody in town knows that office number, so just call 1707 and we'll give you more information. Or if you want any volunteer opportunities, we can set you up.
Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment? All right. We'll bring it back to the desk. Any other comments, questions, or concerns by the council? Great. Okay. Hector, thank you so much for your presentation. We appreciate it. And we will keep it in mind for budget tomorrow. Good snap, Mike. All right, moving on. G, consent calendar. All items under the consent calendar will be considered together by one action of the City Council unless any council member or member of the public requests an item be removed and considered separately.
The consent calendar.
Second.
Motion and a second. Can we get a roll call, Michael?
Thank you. Councilmember Bagby?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgenstern?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolter?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wheeler?
Aye.
Mayor Lands?
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you. New business, I-1, ordinance repealing and replacing Cloverdale Municipal Code, Chapter 5.36, rent control in mobile home parks to adopt new rent control regulations for mobile home parks. David or Alex?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, council members. As the council is very well aware, you've been considering a ordinance to repeal and replace Chapter 5.36, which is the city's existing mobile home rent control ordinance that's been on the books but not implemented or enforced for quite some time. There have been a number of meetings, both at the council and the subcommittee, to consider this item, so I'm not going to rehash all of that tonight. Just say that at the last meeting, we went over the draft ordinance and got specific direction from the council to make 2 changes. And Mike is pulling those up right now. Couldn't skip to the next slide, too. So the first change was, as a rent control ordinance, there is a limit on an allowable rent increase every year. There's a process for people to request a special rent increase, but the default is this maximum allowable rent increase, it would be 3% or 70% of CPI, whichever is less. Previously, it was whichever is greater, so that change has been made. So for example, if CPI is 2%, the maximum would be 1.4% because 70% of 2% is 1.4%, so that's less than 3%. So that what would be allowed for if CPI was 6%, 70% of that is 4.2%, 3% is less than 4.2%, so that's what would be allowed. That is the extent of my math skills. CPI is measured December to December change is what the ordinance says, this would be the increase that's allowed off of the base rent. So for existing residents, that would be the rent in effect on January 1st. So the increase for 2024 could be whatever is the maximum allowed under list. And of course, if as we discussed last week, or last meeting rather, if a park owner feels they're not making a fair return, there's a process for them to go through to request that and potentially go through arbitration for that. Next slide, Mike. The other change has to do with increases when there's a vacancy. And the exact text is now added in a red line version. It's included in the ordinance, and it's a little detailed, so I didn't include it here, but essentially there's two situations. One is when a voluntary space vacancy occurs, so that means someone decides, I'm going to pick up my mobile home and I'm going to move it someplace else, or for whatever reason they choose to move it off and the space is rented to someone new. In that situation, the park owner can raise it to any amount that they want to market. The other situation is when a mobile home remains on site, but it is sold to a new resident. So maybe it's sold to a resident who already lives in the park and is moving, or it's sold to someone, a prospective resident from outside, or it's transferred to a family member who doesn't live in the park or something like that. And the council directed last meeting that there be a 10% rent increase allowed under that scenario. So they can't raise it to market or just to 10%. And of course, they can do less than that as well if they want. So those are the only two changes from the previous ordinance that were considered by the council at the last meeting. So I'm happy to answer any questions the council has, but otherwise the action tonight would be to introduce and read by title only this ordinance.
Great, thank you, Alex. Let's go around. I see you.
Can we get comments from the public first going forward and then come back to the diocese?
How about we do it? We'll go first, then them, and then we'll go again.
Okay. Well, I still think that, I think last week there was a little bit of confusion over the different kinds of vacancy, but I personally still think if a mobile home is sold to new people in the, if it's not a vacated pad, say it's just the mobile home and it gets transferred, say from, somebody that died to their sons or something, or if it's sold at the top, it should only be 5%. I think 10% is too high.
After, listening, and could you bring the two bullet points up again? I just kind of want to talk about, because I think that those are the two salient points. And, nobody moves a mobile home. I mean, I know that we have to have language around it, but it's just very... Speak up a little bit now. Certainly. Can we bring the two bullet points back up on the screen? Because I think that those are the two outstanding issues for me. One was, what do you do if somebody moves a mobile home, which just almost never happens. It just doesn't. It doesn't work out well. Really, the point is the second point. Park owner can raise rent by a maximum of 10%. And just having reviewed the materials again and really looked at that, the majority of the jurisdictions don't allow an increase. We talked a lot tonight earlier about the fact that, folks in this community have maybe a lower median average income than the rest of Sonoma County, and that's definitely true. So I'd like to just revisit that point and hear from the public, because I'd be more inclined to either see it be that on that second point, either be 0 or a maximum of 5, because that's more in line with the communities in Sonoma County. And I'd happy to be like want to hear more from the public and more from the council as well.
Vice Mayor? Okay, and I want to make clear from Councilmember Bagby and Morgenstern, we were talking about the in-place transfers, correct, with the 10%? Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Mayor, members of council, if I can, I just want to note that in your packet, there's 2 tables. One, I want to thank Councilmember Morgenstern for providing a table identifying in-place transfers, the allowable percentage by the cities that have adopted mobile home, as well as the attachment 4 to the packet, which is the previous agenda report. Our city attorney included a very detailed table. So I just want to point that out for reference. Our city clerk has put that up here. So it gives you the perspective on what the entities that have adopted mobile home rent control within Sonoma County, which is most of the cities except Healdsburg, what their rent increases for in-place transfers are.
At this point, I'll open it up to the public. Does anyone like to make a public comment? Please come forward.
Good evening, Daniel Frankston. I was really pleased with the deliberations at the last meeting and everybody seemingly coming together and agreeing on the one-word change, the greater to less, and I think it makes a big difference for a lot of mobile home residents in this park, in this town rather. And as you may have seen from the graph, if you look around at the various other entities, half of the municipalities in Sonoma don't allow any in-place transfer whatsoever. And then with the remaining ones, there's 2, Sonoma, the county-wide, as well as the town of Sonoma, both allow for 5%. There's only 2 that allow for more. One is Sebastopol is 10%, Windsor is 15%. If you take the aggregate of all of those, that's 4.375%. Mayor, you had indicated at the first subcommittee that you felt that when a pad was vacated, that the owner should be permitted to recoup the cost incurred in making improvements to it and having no vacancy control when a pad is empty, which is already the first bullet point would provide for that, and that's great. And Councilmember Walter, at the very first meeting when we were back at City Hall, you said, what I'm looking for is not having rents go up merely because somebody moves. I mean, that's the same unit on the same patch of land providing the same services. I don't think it should be viewed as an opportunity for the landlord to gouge the tenant. I would like it to stay the same. And much as I agree with that sentiment that I think it should stay the same, I also believe in building consensus. And I think 5% is the right amount to come to. That would provide for the opportunity for us to, 1, make that amendment, 2, have the first passage and reading today and be done with it. It would be nice if we could exempt family transfers. It would be nice if we could say no increase for evictions, but in the interest of expediency, in the interest of building bridges and getting consensus, I think 5% for that with no vacancy control, no cap when a pad is empty is the appropriate and right thing to do, and I would encourage all of you to do that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Reese Foxen again, and I came here tonight to thank you all. One of the things I saw last week or last meeting was your willingness to look at the information that was provided by somebody from the public, to listen to people's thoughts and concerns about this and the caps. And you've made some adjustments, and I'm all for it. I do agree with Daniel, Melanie, and I believe Marjorie. Couldn't quite hear all of that. I think 5% is better than the 10. But the fact you're thinking about it and thinking about the community and taking into consideration what's being said is important, and I want to thank you all for it.
You. Anyone else in the public? All right, I'll bring it back to the dais. Since I haven't said anything yet, let me say a little piece. I worry about the 5% being too low, and here's why. Our mobile home parks are kept up by mobile home park owners, and they're doing a pretty good job, for the most part, keeping them nice and adding to the facilities. As inflation grows, the prices don't keep up with the way we have this set up. And it's on purpose so that they stay affordable. My worry is if there isn't a return on their investment that's high enough that they will turn and stop investing in their product and turning them more into a slum than wanting to have pride in their facilities. Does that make sense? I worry about that because if they're not making enough profit, they're not going to invest their money they're making back into their facility. And I would hate to have it fall apart because they don't have pride in their facilities anymore. Because as CPI or inflation goes up, these numbers won't keep up with the or less theory and wording. So the diagram gets further apart, and at that point, is it their investment enough to even keep them wanting to do it? And that's what I'll throw it out to the council.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Okay,
this
so
is the time.
so a lot of people are paying like $1,000 plus rent right now, which is outrageous because a lot of them are retired and they're living off of what, I don't know, Social Security or whatever. And so take $1,000 a month or say $1,200 or something, times that by 30. I think the mobile home park owners are doing okay. And I think we really need to look at the people we're trying to protect, which is the residents. So I think going above 5% would be too high. And also, if somebody dies and then the next people move in and they pay 5% more, and then, they end up going into assisted living at some point, it just keeps going up each time, 5%, 5%, 5%. So the mobile home park owners, I think, are still going to be able to make a decent living and be able to afford to keep their mobile home park in nice shape. That's just what I think.
I'm just trying to find, this is hard to balance here. We had one of the park owners at our last meeting when we all talked about it and came to an agreement, and one of his quotes to redo some underground electrical was pushing $500,000. So we need, and yes, I'm trying to protect the residents, and it's cheaper to keep them housed than it is to do the homeless thing. I get that, but we also got to look out, and I agree with the mayor on a couple things, is we're not keeping up here. Are we going to hamstring these owners, and then they just pull the plug on it, and then now we have these things sitting in Cloverdale that are these mobile home parks that are just not maintained at all. And then we come back up here and we have the same argument on why aren't they doing what they're supposed to be doing. Well, we've hamstringed them. We've priced them out of even making a profit on it. So I'm in agreement with 5%. Yes, we agreed on 10. I think 5 to protect the residents. And that's kind of a fine balance there, because then we're going to have to watch it and see if this guy can make a return on his investment. So the balance is tough here. But I agree on 5%. And I also wanted to thank Daniel Frankston here. He's given us a lot of information. Dan, you've done a great job on that. I've talked to Daniel outside of council meetings, and he's very easy to talk to, and he does come with some really good information, and he was a big driver, I think, on the information he gave us on the decision we came to last week. He gave us just such good, solid information. But as of tonight, I think I'm in agreement with 5%, but I think it's going to be something that's going to have to be watched really close so we don't start seeing these things fall off and just get all dilapidated.
Certainly. Yeah, I'm just not hearing a lot of evidence that it's so prevalent that that this transfer money is so essential for operation. I didn't hear any compelling support for that. I mean, Section 3 of the draft ordinance says that the ordinance established regulations prohibiting excessive space rent increases in mobile home park. Some jurisdictions have 0 increases for in-place transfers. And the average is, as Daniel told us, it's less than 5%. I think 5% is a very good compromise. And I just think of the example that another council member brought up is, why should a widow or a widower or a family member be subject to a fee when they lose a member of their family and they're already in the space? It just doesn't seem like it rises to the level of something that necessitates something like a 10% increase. So, I'm hearing a consensus. So, I mean, what I'm going to recommend is that I'd like to recommend the ordinance and amend it to reflect that 5%. So that's my motion.
Is that a motion?
That is my motion.
Second that motion.
And can we, Councilmember Bagby, can we just read by title only?
I'd be happy to. I kind of didn't want to step on any toes, though. So it's an ordinance of the City Council, the City of Cloverdale. What is that word? It's not repealing. It should say repealing. But that's further proof that this wasn't written by AI, so that's okay. It would be repealing and replacing Cloverdale Municipal Code Chapter 5.36, rent control in mobile home parks, to adopt new rent control regulations for mobile home parks as amended.
Sorry, I didn't catch the second.
Oh, Councilmember
Councilmember-
Morgenstern.
perfect.
was the second.
I'll
Councilmember
second it
Bagby.
again.
Is there any more comments
Appreciate it.
before we go into the roll call? The only comments I will make is I hope that I'm wrong on that, because when you go through the other charts, it's always a 4% or more or a 6% or more for the ones that have no limit or no increases, so that property owners are getting their money somewhere else.
The County of Sonoma has 5%, and I kind of trust that the County of Sonoma spent a lot of time looking at this before they arrived at 5%.
I wouldn't trust the county for anything like that. However, it's okay. We have a motion and a second, and I think I know where this is going, so we're good.
Councilmember Bagby?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgenstern?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolter?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wheeler?
Aye.
Mayor Lands?
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you all for your comments and assistance with this. Okay, moving on. Next is I2, the preliminarily approve the engineer's report for fiscal year 24-25 for the City of Cloverdale Landscaping and Lighting Assessment District, and the set the time and date of the public hearing for zones 1 through 7. Okay.
And Mayor, if I can, I'd like to ask our city clerk to promote panelist Paul Wade. Paul Wade is joining us from Coastland Civil Engineering. Just a quick background. The council appointed Coastland as the engineer of record. They've prepared a preliminary engineering report. We are asking you to take action tonight to approve that report for fiscal year 24-25. We've, in the packet, are four resolutions covering zones 1, 2, and 3, and then the last resolution, zones 4, 5, 6, and 7. As was noted by the council at the start of the meeting in terms of conflicts of interest, Councilmember Walter resides within Zone 1 and should recuse himself. Likewise, Mayor, you live in Zone 2 and should recuse yourself. I recommend turning over to the gavel to Vice Mayor for that vote. And then subsequently, Vice Mayor recuse himself on Zone 3 resolution. But with that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Wade, and he just has a table that's included in your packet that identifies last year's assessments, the proposed assessments included in the preliminary engineering report, along with an overview of reserves and proposed change in assessments, along with a really where we project ending the reserve based on expenditure of the budget. We also are joined tonight by our park superintendent, who performs the majority of work within the respective districts. If you have any questions about the work within the respective 7 zones of your landscape and lighting district. But other than that, Paul's here if you'd like to if you have any questions. And if not, you can proceed with the votes as you see fit.
Great, thank you. Any questions or concerns for? Oh, wait. Seeing none on this side, none on this. Any questions, concerns about any of the L&L resolutions at this point? Great. So then,
And Mr. Mayor, if I can ask, as you move down the list, I have to note what time people leave and come back. So it might take me a little bit of time between each vote.
Absolutely.
So I have to capture it. So.
well, we'll start with the fourth resolution for zone 4, 5, 6, and 7, if you guys don't mind. So we can knock that one out with me here. Yep. I'd like to read a resolution by title only.
Be happy to, Mr. Mayor. Resolution of intent to levy and collect annual assessments, preliminarily approve the engineer's report for fiscal year 2024 through 25 for the city of Cloverdale. Cloverdale Landscaping and Lighting Assessment District, and setting the time and date of the public hearing for zones 4, 5, 6, and 7 pursuant to the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972.
So I see the time is 8:08. Is that a good time on this?
Oh, no, I just meant when
you said that, you
just
don't
when
need me to
folks
say
that
it,
leave
right?
the day
You're-
is when they come back.
I'm like, I've never seen that, but I'm like, okay. So, second on that.
Second.
I'm going to open up to public. Anybody? Any comments, questions from anyone? Seeing none.
Councilmember Bagby?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgenstern?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolter?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wheeler?
Aye.
Mayor Lance?
Aye. Passes 5-0. Yep. Zone 1, Councilmember Walter will be recusing himself.
Thank you.
Reason being is he lives in Zone 1, so he cannot vote for it.
Let the record reflect that Councilmember Walter has left the dais at 8:09 p.m.
8:09, thank you. Any discussions? If not, do we have anyone that will make a motion for title only? For Zone 1? It's attachment 2.
Motion to read by title only, the resolution intent to levy and collect annual assessments, preliminary approve the engineer's report for fiscal year 24-25 for the city of Cloverdale Landscape and Lighting Assessment District, and setting the time and date of the public hearing for Zone 1 pursuant to Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972.
Second.
Great, we have a first and a second. I'll open it up to public. Seeing none, I'll bring it back.
Councilmember Bagby?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgenstern?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wheeler?
Aye.
Mayor Lance?
Aye, passes 4-0. Thank you. Turned at 8:10.
Thank you.
I'll keep track of these as well if you need it, Michael. Okay, we'll move on to Zone 3. Vice Mayor Wheeler is recusing himself at 8:10. Reason being is he lives in Zone 3 in the cottages. Discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, do we have anyone to make a motion for the resolution?
I'll recommend the resolution by title only. A resolution of intent to levy and collect annual assessments, preliminarily approve the engineer's report for fiscal year 2024-25 for the city of Cloverdale Landscaping and Lighting Assessment District, and setting the time and date of the public hearing for Zone 3 pursuant to the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972.
I'll second that motion.
To public real quick. Is there anyone that would like to make a comment on this zone? Seeing none, bring it back.
Clarify that was for zone 3, correct?
That's for Zone 3.
Councilmember Bagby?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgenstern?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolter?
Aye.
Mayor Lands?
Aye. Passes 4-0. Vice Mayor? Returning at 8:11. Now we'll move into Zone 2, where I will recuse myself at 8:11.
Mike, let the record show the mayor recused himself at 8:11. Reason he's recusing himself, he lives up in Zone 3. Do we have, or Zone 2, I'm sorry. My apologies, Zone 2. Would somebody like to make a motion and read by title only the resolution?
I'll move the item. I'll recommend the resolution by title only, resolution of intent to levy and collect annual assessments, preliminarily approve the engineer's report for fiscal year 2024-25, the City of Cloverdale Landscaping Lighting Assessment District, and setting the time and date of public hearing for Zone 2 pursuant to the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Councilmember Bagby?
Aye.
Councilmember Morgenstern?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolter?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wheeler?
Aye. Do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, bring it back to the dais.
Passes 4-0 with the mayor abstaining. Mayor returned. 8:12. Thank you.
8:12.
And Mayor, I just want to thank Paul Wade for attending tonight. He's a man of many words.
Good to see you, Paul.
Can't hear him.
We will be.
1 second, Paul.
One second, Paul, we can't hear you yet.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good to see you all. I'll give you as long or short a presentation as you want. See you June 12th.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you being here. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. You too.
All right, next, let's see here. Oh, this one. I3, First Amendment to the at-will employment agreement with Michael Maloney for the position of city clerk for the city of Cloverdale and approving a revised city clerk job description.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to cover this item. Mr. Maloney has dutifully served as our city clerk since May 2nd of 2022. He's quickly approaching his second anniversary here with the city of Cloverdale. Mike's been a very welcomed employee to the city, and we've really appreciated his can-do attitude, especially as it relates to not only his work as clerk, but his work with our community development parks team in doing outreach, and taking on a greater role with respect to providing public information with an emphasis on improving the accessibility of our website. Mike completed his initial performance review, I completed his initial performance review at 6 months post-employment, which was on November 2nd of 2022. And again, on his annual review is coming up in November of 2024. Given his exceptional service and his role as public information officer, the request was made for an extraordinary adjustment to reestablish his annual performance evaluation date to May. What's reflected in your packet is an amendment to an employment agreement which would enable Mr. Maloney to move from currently a step 3 to a step 4 effective a new anniversary date, which coincides with his original start date of May 2nd. The proposed change would result in a change in compensation to $118,704.39 annually. There's no other proposed changes to the agreement. The proposed resolution in your packet would amend the language to reflect the new salary based on a step 4. Included in your packet is the resolution which would adopt the First Amendment to the at-will employment agreement with Mr. Maloney, as well as adopt an updated job classification. Included in your packet is both the a final draft version as well as a red line version that reflects where changes were made to the job classification. Recommendation tonight is to approve the resolution and in complete support of the proposed amendment to the job steps as proposed.
Thank you, David.
Open this up to the public. Great. I'll wait until the public, yeah.
Nope, I'm good.
I'll open up to the public. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. I'm extremely happy with your performance. You've exceeded my expectations to this point. I think you're the third or fourth that I've had in my short tenure here, and you have done a lot to not only make your position what it is, but to blow it up into something bigger and better and do so much for the city, from the internet website to all the parks and rec that you're working on and things that are going forward. I'm very happy and thankful that we have you, and look forward to several more years in the future.
Yeah, Mike, I'm just really excited to see this come forward tonight. You know, bringing you on during the height of the pandemic. I mean, that was we were in a really tough spot, and you're what we call in the industry, you're a good hire. You know, exceeds expectations. You know, it doesn't even really describe everything that you did when you just stepped in and enthusiastically got to work on improving, really flagging technology systems and operational systems in City Hall. You addressed issues that were with the website that were, you know, technically difficult and probably, you know, took on a company that maybe didn't have the bandwidth to deal with a little tiny city and probably one of their smallest accounts, and you just, you know, you whipped that website into shape. And I know it's a work in progress, but you know, and it really goes down to your core values of the importance of effective communications and getting the word out. We were in the middle of a pandemic, and you really prioritized. We needed to get that information out to the public, and you know, you just got it done in spite of so many, you know, so many roadblocks. You know, you bring a passion for professional development. One of the things I've enjoyed kind of getting to know about you is talking about all of the books that you do in your book club, and you know, in your professional development, and how you're, you know, getting your certification as a city clerk. And I really value, you know, your parks and recreation experience. It's really why and how we've gotten to where we are. You work so well as a team with assistant city manager or park superintendent, and you just have the, you know, the respect of the staff that work around you, and you definitely have my respect. And just really grateful to have you, and look forward to continuing to work with you and watch as you grow into this job and grow in this community.
All of that and then some. I'm not going to sit here and rehash it. Mike, you do a great job. Every time I come down and need something, you're more than willing to put what you're doing down, help me out, and I think it's rolling forward. You're doing an outstanding job. Website looks great, and keep doing what you're doing, keep growing, and I think you'll be here for a while, and I like it.
Over Morgenstern.
You know, I'm just going to ditto what Vice Mayor Wheeler said and Councilmember Bagby. And I'm also going to thank you for making some special accommodations for me and helping me get through this challenging time. So thank you, Mike, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Be happy to move. I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to move the item. Recommend that read the resolution by title only. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Cloverdale approving the First Amendment to the at-will employment agreement with Michael Maloney for the position of City of Cloverdale City Clerk and approving revised City Clerk job description.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Motion in a second when you are ready.
Councilmember Bagby,
Aye.
Councilmember Morgenstern,
No.
Councilmember Walter,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wheeler,
Aye.
Mayor Lands.
Aye.
Motion passes
4-1.
4-1.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, council.
All right, I'll move into J, subcommittee reports. Does anyone want to make any comments on any meetings that they've had? Seeing none, I'll say that all the subcommittee agendas, minutes, and media are available at www.cloverdale.net/agenda center. Council member reports. We have one written by Councilmember Bagby. Does anyone else have anything else they want to add? I want to try to start doing something new if I can, and that's I'm going to try to talk about the different things going on that I have listed in Cloverdale. May 9th, there's a bingo night being held by the Rotary at Railroad Station. On the 28th, we have what the event called the Longest Table. I would recommend that because it includes a lot of different sip and shop and different things going on in Cloverdale on that date with the maps and everything put on by the chamber. This weekend, we have an adoption event being held at the Cloverdale Pet Supply. We also have a barbecue from 2 to 5 on the 20th. Oh, shoot, that's too late on that one. Sorry, I'm trying to run through them all here. April 26th, Friday, 6 p.m. to 9:30, downtown Cloverdale, we have the AV Cloverdale Block Party. May 18th, that's after our next meeting, but I'll say it anyways. That's the 14th Annual Kids to Parks Day. That's the one that Hector was talking about. And I'll stop there. That's all that I see coming up in the next few weeks. Okay, let's see here. Legislative reports, letter of support or opposition. David, we have the one letter, the letter to the State Water Board, comments on water conservation.
Right, Mayor, included in the packet is a letter that's providing comments on the proposed regulations that the state board is considering. It's pretty extensive set of comments to reflect the potential impact on the city as well as our residents with these new regulations, and just wanted to include that for council's reference.
City manager update.
Yeah, a couple of updates. Tomorrow, the council has a special meeting to conduct a budget workshop. Council should expect a fairly in-depth overview of the budget. All senior staff will be giving presentations on their respective departments, highlighting any major budgetary changes, new programs, projects, or funding initiatives. There's a lot to walk through with the budget. I want to thank Susie for all the work she's done on putting the budget. It's in your packet. It's available for the community to review. There's a lot more online. The budget story has a number of links that you can spend a lot of time and drill down to individual departments and to individual expenditures. We won't necessarily look at every single thing tomorrow based on time, but we are going to do a fairly deep dive on the budget numbers. Encourage all of you to prepare for that. We are slated to begin at 9 o'clock. We will have coffee and refreshments available for you at the firehouse, followed by a brief lunch break. I think we're anticipated to wrap up somewhere between 1:30 and 2 because of other commitments by council members. Also wanted to point out that tomorrow evening, Thursday at 5:30, the Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce has their quarterly mixer, we was mentioned earlier, where our chief will be giving tours of our police station, and there's also going to be food and refreshments served. So our PD is hosting the quarterly mixer, and I encourage and welcome all of you to be there as well as the community. So that's it.
Thank you. City Attorney? Nothing to report. I love that. All right. Council direction on future agenda items.
May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month, and I was hoping we could have a very brief discussion in the beginning of May regarding putting tick warning signage on all trailheads. In Marin County, they have a lot of it, and it helps because when I went hiking and ended up with Lyme disease, there was no literature or warning, and it took me literally from the early 90s until like 2012 or something to get diagnosed successfully because I had no clue what was making me sick.
Something that we would want to send to a subcommittee or have here for the signage? What do you think? I think at this point, I don't know if anybody would be against it. So maybe it'd go faster if it went to the subcommittee.
And maybe in the meantime, I can get some suggestions for signage from Vector Control.
That'd be great. And I would suggest the
Public Works.
Great idea.
Okay, thanks.
Love it. Thank you. Any other future agenda items? Great. Seeing none, thank you, Shirley, for staying the whole time. And Chief. Oh, and Hector. So meeting adjourned at 8:27. Thank you all.
Good job, Chief.
Way to hide out.